the Palestinians want to go back to Gaza is they have no alternative. It's right now a demolition site. This is just a demolition site. Virtually every building is down. They're living under fallen concrete that's very dangerous and very precarious. They instead can occupy all of a beautiful area with homes and safety, and they can live out their lives in peace and harmony instead of having to go back and do it again. The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it, too. We'll own it and be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs and other weapons on the site, level the site and get rid of the destroyed buildings, level it out, create an economic development that will supply unlimited numbers of jobs and housing for the people of the area.
U.S. President Donald Trump's controversial proposal to seize control of Gaza and forcibly displace its Palestinian population has drawn strong criticism from world leaders and legal experts. Germany and France have condemned the plan as a grave violation of international law, while several Middle Eastern nations, including Egypt, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and Turkey, have outright rejected it. Trump's suggestion aligns with previous hardline U.S. policies on Israel and Palestine, but represents an unprecedented escalation. Historically, U.S. administrations have maintained a diplomatic ambiguity on Gaza's status, but outright advocating for a takeover would mark a radical shift in both American foreign policy and international norms.
Just can't go back. If you go back, it's going to end up the same way it has for 100 years. I'm hopeful that this ceasefire could be the beginning of a larger and more enduring peace that will end the bloodshed and killing once and for all. With the same goal in mind, my administration has been moving quickly to restore trust in the alliance and rebuild American strength throughout the region.
Trump's proposal, if executed, would violate multiple international legal frameworks and could lead to serious legal consequences for those involved. The Fourth Geneva Convention Treaty, Article 49, explicitly prohibits the forcible transfer of civilians from occupied territories, labeling such actions as war crimes. Any mass displacement of Gazans under Trump's plan would likely be classified as an illegal act under international law. The UN Charter, Article 1 and 2, upholds the sovereignty of nations and the right of self-determination. Gaza is internationally recognized as Palestinian territory, and any external takeover without Palestinian consent would violate this principle. The Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court (ICC), Article 7, defines mass deportation or forced population transfers as crime against humanity.
I ended the last administration's de facto arms embargo on over $1 billion in military assistance for Israel. And I'm also pleased to announce that this afternoon the United States withdrew from the anti-Semitic UN Human Rights Council and ended all of the support for the UN Relief and Works Agency, which funneled money to Hamas and which was very disloyal to humanity.
If Trump's plans were carried out, it could result in cases being brought before the International Criminal Court (ICC) against those responsible for its implementation.
We will restore calm and stability to the region and expand prosperity, opportunity, and hope to our nations and for all people of the Middle East, including the Arab and Muslim nations. Very important. We want the Arab and Muslim nations to have peace and have tranquility and have great lives.
If pursued, this policy could face multiple legal challenges, including the International Court of Justice (ICJ) proceedings. Countries opposing the plan could take the matter to the ICJ, arguing that it violates fundamental principles of international law. ICC investigations. If any forced deportation occur, human rights organizations or affected individuals could seek war crimes charges at the ICC. Sanctions and diplomatic fallout. The US and Israel could face economic sanctions, travel bans, or arms embargo from countries that view the plan as an unlawful occupation. However, despite a strong legal basis for opposition, enforcing this international law remains a challenge. Historically, the US has resisted ICC jurisdiction and Israel has rejected ICJ rulings in the past. The lack of enforcement mechanism means the success of any legal action depends on global diplomatic pressure. Although many nations have condemned the proposal, some global players have remained cautious, reflecting the enduring geopolitical influence of the US. Several factors contribute to this hesitation. US military and economic influence. Many countries rely on the US for defense cooperation, trade, and diplomatic support, making them reluctant to openly confront Washington. Israel's strong regional alliances. The normalization of Israel's relations with some Arab states under the Abraham Accords complicates a unified regional response. While European nations have voiced strong opposition, the muted response from other key global players underscores the enduring influence of the United States. As the world's dominant political and military power, the US has historically shaped international norms while often sidestepping them when its strategic interests are at stake. This latest controversy once again highlights how Washington's geopolitical leverage can deter meaningful legal and diplomatic repercussions, reinforcing the imbalance in global rule enforcement.
You are the greatest friend Israel has ever had in the White House. And that's why the people of Israel have such enormous respect for you. In your first term, you recognized Jerusalem as Israel's capital. You moved the American embassy there. You recognized Israel's sovereignty over the Golan Heights. You withdrew from the disastrous Iran nuclear deal. And of course, you also brokered the groundbreaking Abraham Accords in which Israel made peace with 4 Arab states. Now, in the first days of your second term, you picked up right where you left off. Your leadership helped bring our hostages home, among them American citizens. You ended unjust sanctions against law-abiding Israeli citizens. You boldly confronted the scourge of anti-Semitism. You stopped funding, as you just said, international organizations like UNRWA that support and fund terrorists. And today, you renewed the maximum pressure campaign against Iran. Ladies and gentlemen, all this in just 2 weeks. Can we imagine where we'll be in 4 years?
Ephraim Abu reporting for POF TV.
People of the Fountain.